so many new generations of
Uh-huh.
JKD people now, right? I just I just met a couple of guys who are, let me see if I have this right. They're students of a student of a student
Uh-huh.
under Inasano or Paul Vunak or somebody. So these are guys who are like two or three removed.
Generations down, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Uh-huh.
And but this is the thing. That's going to be the future,
It is.
right?
Yep, it is.
That's going to be the future. So I have I consider it an honor to be able to get as many people as possible, legitimately qualified people, of course, because that's another thing. I don't know if you saw. Um, I think it was a post from yesterday, and it was all about lineage. Did you see that
Yeah,
one?
yeah, yeah,
Right. Okay.
yeah. I
And
did have my two penneth on that, to be fair. Or at least my thoughts on it. Because it's kind of driving me nuts now, that kind of thing.
what? Why?
Um, well, we have a lineage. We have Gurdan. We we
Right.
we have what we have. The Taki lineage. We have the Tim Tackett lineage. We have Chris Kent lineage. We have the lineages. They mean
Mm,
something in context of the fact that we've preserved something.
right. Okay. What now? That's interesting. How you put it. A Tim Tackett lineage or a Chris Kent lineage, because to me those guys are all from Inasano.
They are,
You
but
know
they
what I
also
mean?
have their own. That is the direct lineage. But
Yeah.
literally, what we have is, as you would say, we have an interpretation or their interpretation of it, which
Mm.
we'll get into at some point. I'm sure you will completely and utterly grill me to death and tell me that I'm completely wrong, and I'll go away and cry.
Oh, no, 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 no. No, I promise not to do that. But okay, well, so let's see who's here. Simon Alpin's here. But see, Terry Valor will not be first because we started 5 minutes early. But hello, Simon. Um,
Hi,
so
Simon.
uh,
I have caffeine as well, just so that Dwight doesn't confuse me too much.
no, that's okay. So let's do this. Let's go back and talk about, since we just mentioned lineage. What's your exact lineage? You come from where and through whom?
Right. I started out in Sheffield in 1996, approximately.
Okay.
I've just hit 50. Well, sorry, I'm making myself older. I'm about to hit 53.
Whoa, you're a kid.
Yeah. Yeah. So I started out in Sheffield, and I had a lineage. The guy that I was with was actually through Bastillo
Okay.
originally,
Okay.
through the IMB.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for various reasons, I ended up offshooting from there for various reasons, which I won't go into, but different directions, different things.
Right.
And I, around 2014, hooked up with Mr. Ink Tully at a seminar.
Ah,
Yes, and he
poor
linked me
you.
into. Sorry,
Poor you.
he's 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 a gentleman. He's a true gentleman. He's a true gentleman. But yeah, yeah. I did get put on the spot on that day, to be fair. So yeah, I'm
Mhm.
wondering what route. But he ended up asking me to go to the Rick Fay camp
Okay.
that they hold in Southampton or
Okay.
around that area that year.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So I went there and ended up being part of MKG.
Okay. So now,
Yeah.
so fighting edge is a branch, so to speak, of
No,
MKG.
no,
No.
no. I'm going to say that, like, literally, I did the MKG thing, but previous to that, I'd actually visited the Innosanto Academy in 2006, 2007, 2009, I think, and
Hmm.
then 11, 12, and 13, or 14, and 15. So I've been going there consistently since that point and doing the training camps. So
Ah.
fighting edge, fighting edge. I'm associate with Guru Rick Fay,
Okay.
and I have an I don't know what level this is because I've not got my certificates or anything like that because I just don't do that. I've got an apprentice level with Guru Dan.
Okay.
I'm also associated with Guru Tim from the academy as well.
Oh,
Some part of the thing that
my
he's
good
got
buddy,
going on.
Tim Becker.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty close to him and what he's doing, and
So you hang out with all the top guys, huh?
I'm fortunate that they allow me to. I'm fortunate that they allow me to. I'm seen around with, well, should I say, I make myself be in the presence of the best wherever possible.
Mm-hmm.
Because I found that based on what I was saying from the guy I was with in Sheffield at the time, for various reasons, I found that hence going off and doing the thing with Mr. McTully, I ended up learning more from and learning more about Bruce and Guru Dan from seminars,
Right.
and the depth of knowledge and spending time with what I would call like essentially the top 4 in the UK.
Right.
So you've actually got Phil Norman,
So
you've got
Phil
Woody
Norman,
White if he's on.
What that's a name that I've seen before, but I don't see much about him. That Woody White.
You don't get a lot of him,
right?
But he's a complete legend.
Okay.
So Woody White, I don't know whether you've had him on or not. I can't remember.
I haven't. I would definitely would have remembered that. Where is my pen? There we go. Okay.
So you definitely need to have Woody White on.
So when you say the top 4 in the UK, so it's Phil Norman, Woody White, and who else?
No, so Woody White should be on, and he's incredible. The top 4 in the UK that I'm aware of is Phil Norman, who's a full instructor under Guru Dan.
Mm-hmm.
We have Rick Young,
right,
in Edinburgh,
right,
who you've had on.
Right.
Rick is probably the best in the country, not to offend anybody. You've also got Guru Bob Breen.
Mm-hmm.
You've actually got Paul Finn.
I met Paul. Did I meet Paul?
Yeah.
Paul's been on the show.
Yes, he has.
Right.
Yes, he has.
And he's the only one certified by Francis Fong as well, right?
Correct. Yeah. And I managed to. I trained with Francis Fong at the academy. I always call it the academy. I never call it the Inner Santo Academy. Yeah. I call it's the academy.
When are you going out there again?
Well, myself and Terry Valor are meant to be going at some point this year.
Okay, you guys got to let me know, because then maybe
we can hook up.
Ron Reagan and I can go out and meet you guys over there.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool to meet you in the flesh. Yeah.
Yeah, we're heading out first weekend of April for the Inasano and Attilo seminar.
Right.
Okay. And then we're going back the last weekend of April.
Right. Okay.
We're gonna go do Casamagda's Sealat camp.
Right. Okay. So, those weeks that you're over there, I'm already booked in for something, and it's my birthday in the last week of April. Okay. Yeah. I become old.
Well, so you were born essentially just after
71.
Bruce Lee died. Okay, so just before Bruce Lee died.
Yeah, 2 years before. Yeah.
So did he have an influence on you? Did he become an influence on you at any point?
He did. The funny thing is, I saw a poster. I saw the double nunchuck poster in what we call one of our mini markets.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, that actually hit me. For some reason, I do not know why, Of all things around at that time when I was a kid, that hit me. I'd actually seen bits of the Kung Fu TV series.
Right.
We'd actually got a cartoon over here called Hong Kong Fooey, and for some reason, my brain tuned into all that stuff rather than going into and tuning into what the other kids were doing.
Right. Yeah.
And so, for some reason, Bruce Lee with his nunchucks up and doing whatever, it ended up being the Enter the Dragon thing. I saw snippets of movies from him when I shouldn't have done. So I saw snippets. Yeah. You wouldn't get away with that now, or
Right.
maybe you would actually. There are ways, but
Yeah. I mean,
my first sight of the whole Bruce Lee thing, which Mick Tully pointed out on one of the comments, was Where the Warrior, the TV show, the documentary thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and literally, I saw that and said, "That's Bruce Lee on his wall."
Right.
And then all of a sudden, I was going like, "Who is that guy?"
Ah.
I'm like, all of a sudden, I need to be doing what that guy's doing.
Yeah. Well,
And
at that point, because let's see. Well, let me ask you a question. What the heck has happened to the BBC since then? I mean, if they can produce a thing like Way the Warrior, what the heck is going on now? I'm just kidding. All right.
no comment.
Yeah, right. So at that point, because that was 1982.
I was 12.
Inosanto had already been to England.
He had. I was 12, and unfortunately, with my background and with my limitations, I wasn't able to actually do any visits or do. Yeah, it was. I had to live with the background that I had. So the only thing I could actually get my hands on were books or especially at 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my parents weren't taking me anywhere. They weren't taking me anywhere.
Talking about backgrounds, right? I got to ask you, can you see this picture?
No.
No? What about now? Can you see this picture I just put up? No?
No, unfortunately, I've got me twice, but...
Okay. Nothing? I'm trying all the different displays that are available to us. Let me see if I can do this one. I'm going to take myself out for a second.
Oh. Hi, everybody. Mr. Val, you didn't beat everybody. You were not first.
Okay, so I'm trying to...
Hope everybody's having a good evening.
Okay, all right. Am I back?
You are back. You are back, sir.
But you don't see that. So there's a picture of you. Is that you playing bass guitar?
I attempt bass guitar occasionally.
What do you mean occasionally? That looks like a gig, man.
A gig?
Yeah.
Ooh, I don't know about a gig.
So you're not an active bass player?
I am not an active bass player. I just found myself, because of the nature of what I'm actually trying to do, I find very little time to hit the bass.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more or less hitting things than hitting the bass.
Okay, because I went on your Facebook page and I was looking around at photos and what have you, and I saw that and I thought, oh, so this is the thing that he's into besides martial art.
What I do is I'm beyond martial arts. It's music. Yeah. Presently, I don't know whether we can see this. My favorite band at the present is because of where the camera is. I can't move that around. But I go and see live gigs, and I attempt to go and see and meet the musicians if possible.
Ah.
The local music thing at present time around Sheffield is pretty decent. So I go and see gigs. I know the bands. I know the guys in the bands. So it's a good way of networking with Fighting Edge.
So a young kid like you in Sheffield, like what kind of music are you guys into?
A young kid like me, you can say that all evening, sir. My friend, you can say that all evening. Predominantly, I'm into rock and metal, or so I'll have a listen to blues and soul.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have to cut it off at like jazz, because that can go a little bit. Jazz has its own personality, but I can listen to some. It's a
Yeah.
little bit like classical music. I can listen to some, but it then has its own thing going on.
Okay. So rock and metal. So is that why you wear black all the time?
No, that's because I can't be bothered to go shopping.
Right. Okay.
This is very true. This is very
Okay.
true.
Yeah.
No,
Well, I mean,
that's how I got my surname.
well, see, that was the thing. That's what I wondered, right? Because I mean, unlike other people on Facebook, like Dwight Woods is my name, right? But I
Yes.
know that a lot of people on Facebook, and now I wish I could go back and do something like that, and not use like my actual name. But I don't have those kinds of I don't have
Well, you see,
those.
I changed my name by a deed poll, purely for a family reason. Purely, we don't want to get into that. Purely for family reasons.
Okay. Hmm.
And I named it after someone that I actually after a musician that I was actually into in my youth.
Okay. All right. Here's a Jeet Kune quiz for you.
Oh my God, no!
Okay. Here's a Jeet Kune quiz for you. What other notable English, Southern England JKD guy changed his surname?
Oh my God! Southern.
Yeah, he's from he changed his name to the area that in Southern England that he's from.
Oh my God! I've got no clue. Oh, come on, seriously.
Well, his last name is not Dover. Okay.
It's not Cliff either, right?
It's not Cliff, right? His last name's not Dover. His last name is let me see. So now I'm trying to remember, because I remember I took a I took a look, right? I took a look. Is there a place in Southern England called Worthing?
Yes,
There is, right?
yes.
Yeah.
I'm
See,
sure there is. Yes,
yeah. Now, so there's Dover, there's Worthing, there's Hastings also, correct?
yes, there is.
Yeah, right. Now the reason why I know these is because when I went looking for the area that this guy is from, I saw all those names, and all those names are repeated on the south coast of Barbados, where I grew up.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
see? So
yeah.
okay, so it's not Hastings, it's not Worthing, it's not Dover. You got one more guess.
My geography is terrible. Come on, put me out of my misery. Come on,
Chris Kent.
really?
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah. Chris
wow.
Kent. Now,
I I feel that you should never have me in a test ever again.
now let's see if anybody knows what his real name. Well, not his real name, but what his birth name is.
Wow, because I met and trained with Chris Kent in
Did you?
was it 2000? I think in
Oh, really? Where?
that was in England.
Okay.
And that was at the John Fan weekend. I managed to meet John Little, Richard
Oh,
Bristow, Ted Wong.
oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, so he had to put up with me for a whole weekend. Yeah,
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, Simon and Terry Valor are on the money, right? Chris's birth name was Nuds,
nice one, Terry.
right? And
Valor Speed.
yeah, and well, Simon, I think Simon got it before he did, before
Oh,
Terry
come on,
did.
Terry.
Yeah. But I remember him telling me that it was just tough for American people to pronounce his last name or spell it correctly or what have you.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, so
yeah. I
he
also had
went
that problem as well.
really with Mark Black.
No, with my previous name. I got called. Just put it this way: I got called bum a lot. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. My previous surname was Baum, spelt Baum.
Oh man,
That's
that
unfortunate, right?
not at all. Not at all. That's a boss name as far as I'm concerned.
Really,
Yeah,
really. Thank you, thank
yeah.
you.
But see, look, here's the thing, right? Some Americans, unfortunately, don't know much about anything outside of America,
They don't know.
right?
No.
Unfortunately, some of them. This is not
Well, I
across
mean,
this is not an
you know,
across the board condemnation of
yeah,
my adopted homeland, right? But there are some people in America. But I mean, look, you can happen. It can happen anywhere. There are people in England who don't know much about
that's correct.
outside.
There are
You know
many
what I
people
mean?
in England that
Yeah.
think that Spain is the only destination
Right.
outside of England.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is actually something that I think is wonderful for us in the Jeet Kune Do world, because if we move around inside the Jeet Kune Do world, we will meet people literally from all over the world.
Absolutely,
You know,
absolutely, and
literally.
that's one of the privileges of it.
Mhm.
We get to actually the way that Gurudhan actually stated that we were lucky. I mean, one of the things, many things he actually says in his classes or at the seminars when I'm over at the States is that they're very lucky to be in California because you can get pretty much anything in California.
Yeah.
There's anything available to you. But certainly, as we do seminars and as we even traveling to the academy or traveling to anywhere,
Mhm.
you're gonna come across different cultures, different dialects, different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I
it's
mean,
just enriched.
every time I would say just about every time that we are in LA at the academy, there's somebody visiting from somewhere else in the world.
Yep.
Just about every time. I mean,
Yes.
we were there um, probably late last year, and from time to time, Sifu Dan will call people up, and so he calls. He said, and he says, "Okay, Udo, you come up." I immediately knew that was Udo Mueller from Germany, which
Yes.
is which
Yeah.
is a name that
Yeah.
I've known for 40 years. I've
Yes.
never met him, right? But I've known of him since about 1984 or so.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
finally got a chance to meet him. I tell this story all the time. Takashi Uchino, we saw him, and so then I said I go, well, I asked him how come he's there all the time, and Takashi said, well, he bought a house in L.A., right, and he's been there. He's been there for, man, I think about 6 months or so now.
Wow, that's a good move.
Yeah, that's a
That's
very
a good move.
very very
Honestly, if it was affordable, I'd be doing the same thing.
good.
Honestly, if I could actually be annoying the academy every day, I'd
Yeah,
be doing it.
yeah. Well, hey, look, they let Tim Becker hang out there, so you're okay.
Yeah, I know. Honestly, I've been trying to chat him up for years. It hasn't
Yeah,
worked.
yeah. Now, look, they let me come in. Okay,
Yeah,
so right, they let me come
yeah.
in, so you'll be fine. All right. So what is so you talked about the Bruce Lee thing and seeing the poster and what have you. What for you was like the most compelling or the most fascinating aspect of this thing that drove you to get involved?
Um, I actually wanted to be. At that time period, he was actually just different. Even the poster was different.
Mhm.
This guy was actually just very, very different from the standard kind of like Starsky and Hutch guy. side of a car, or there was just something very, very different about even holding the nunchuck. It was like this guy's just different. And from seeing the mysticism, or sort of mysticism, from the Kung Fu series, my brain for some reason wanted to go and do judo. So for some reason, the only thing I could actually find with a sort of white suit with a belt was the local judo club.
Right.
So my dad, to get me out of the house, took me to the judo club. Yeah. Okay. Do you want to go and do football? No. Do you want to go and do cricket? No. Do you want to actually play out on the field with the guys and play football up there? No, I want to go wherever that white suit thing is.
Oh man, yeah. I played both football and cricket. I played so much football that I got a bone malformation in both my knees. Yeah, right.
Wow.
From the amount of football, so I had to take a rest from football, and it was during that rest period that my interest in martial art grew and grew. And so I never went back to football and cricket. Now I just like to talk about them and try to explain the game of cricket to Americans.
It's lost on me, to be fair. Cricket is just lost on me. Yeah. As a Brit, I just see it as an excuse for guys to go and get drunk at halftime.
No. The excuse for guys to get out of the house is golf. Right? No, cricket is the game of gentlemen and kings.
I will take your word for it. I promise.
Yeah. The other thing I like to annoy Americans with is to tell them that it's not called soccer; it's called football. That's the other thing.
Yeah. They can keep it. Honestly, they can keep it. I don't even watch football. They can keep it.
Man, you're like a Jeet Kune purist.
The way that the Brits react over football is just a little bit embarrassing.
Okay, I see what you mean.
It's just I mean, most of the time where I'm at anyway, most guys are actually either in the pub, and afterwards, if we lose, there's fights. So and then so I can't be doing with it. And then what we have is we have grown men actually throwing themselves on the floor and sliding across the pitch after they score, and then flicking their hair. Because the ponytails come out. I'm like, I'm out.
Okay. Yeah, I guess. What? So you have no idea that American football comes over to England a couple of times during the season, and they play games there, huh?
Not a clue.
Yeah. Wow.
Not a clue. Wow. I take note of UFC. I take note of the occasional bit of boxing, and I take note of your show.
Well, thank you very much. Hey, somebody said the other day that Jeet Kune Do is MMA. What's your take on that statement?
Oh. This is why I don't actually write it in text format, because I'll be on my phone all day. Be on my phone all day. Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes and no. It's a complex. It's a load of variables. Had Bruce actually not passed away, then I think at some point he would have actually got to something that resembles MMA.
In terms of the sport form, or in terms of how he trained, or what?
I think both.
Yeah.
Because we have to look at one, and this is, I'm sorry if I offend anybody. One, we have to look at the art form itself.
Mm-hmm.
Two, we have to look at the fact that we're pressure testing it, if we are pressure testing it. Three, we have to look to see whether it can be maneuvered into a sport.
Why do we have to see if it can be maneuvered into a sport?
Because you'll always get people that want to compete.
Wow.
You'll always get people that want to actually have self-defense. You'll always get people that actually want to have just get fit, stay in shape, and all that business. And then you'll always have people that want to do the street.
That's a great answer.
So you have to accommodate all three of those, which Fighting Edge tries to do. The reason why it became Fighting Edge, after many names,
It used to be. It used to be Black's martial arts, right?
it did. It went from Combat Hub to various things, and
I remember
nothing ever
Combat
fitted.
Club. Yeah.
But the reason why it became Fighting Edge is from looking at what Bruce was doing and looking at what and how Gorodan teaches, how Tim Tackett teaches, how Chris Kent teaches, how Billy teaches, how it's meant to be a how it's a form. There's a formatted system, which we'll go into in a moment. There's a formatted system and an expression beyond that formatted system, and that has to be looked at in all its variables. But certainly, Bruce, in my humble opinion, was looking at all different elements of his ranges and looking for a fighting edge to finish the fight.
Ah, okay.
And that's where Fighting Edge came from.
I get it. It's a great name.
Thank you. And literally, fighting method. So I said, what's he looking for? And then I said, right, he was always looking for the edge. He was always looking to finish it quickly. So Fighting Edge was born.
And then doesn't that give you permission to style hop into Kali, where you use blades?
I'm style hopping everywhere. I'm even stealing your style of presentation here because you're making me feel comfortable on camera. And believe me, I hate being on camera. I'm trying to do all this stuff where I go, right, come down to Fighting Edge. My name's Mark Black, blah, blah, blah. We're based here. Can't do it, man. Can't do it. Can't do it. Can't do it.
So the makeup right now at Fighting Edge, the student makeup, do you have all those categories?
I have all those categories, yes.
The fighters, yeah.
Yeah, I've got everybody that likes to. I've got some guys that just don't like taking it light. But I have to explain to them that if they're not taking it light at some point, then they're not really helping themselves by having some kind of sustained training.
Right.
Because you can't go heavy all the time.
No.
It's not good for the body.
Right. Yeah. Those I suspect that sometimes those are the guys who think that if they go hard and go fast all the time, they'll get it sooner.
Yes. Yeah. That's correct. Yeah. I have guys that actually want to see if the trapping works. And it can work. It can work.
Yeah.
But that's a whole different podcast.
No, that can be part of this podcast too.
Yeah. Right. I have guys that just want to do the kickboxing element. So they just want to kickbox. So Jun Fan Kickboxing becomes that kickboxing class. Yeah. And I have guys that want to do the self-defense element and look at going in the cage.
Yeah.
But all three elements of that have to be done separately.
So they are all grouped. They're all put. The student body then is put into different groups based on the direction in which they want to take it.
Yeah, and at times I have them in the same room at the same time. But so I have to govern all segments.
But working on different elements.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that exhausting?
It can be mentally exhausting in the sense of actually kind of trying to keep track of what's actually happening in class, but that also means that I'm actually kept on track by I have to be on point in class at all times.
Right. Yeah.
I get questions thrown at me all the time about what's actually what part this is from, what we do with this, how do we do this, how is this going to function in reality, how's the kickboxing going to work, what do we? So I have to be on it at all times. If I can't find the answer in class, then I usually take about 24 hours to get back to them.
Wow. So what's your timetable for classes like?
I have a Monday class, I have a Wednesday, Thursday, and a Friday class.
Okay.
they vary on size depending on who's working and what their shifts are and all that. Because everybody has lives as well. Yeah. And if we don't do that, then we actually then I organise one-to-ones.
Okay.
So no student does without a session.
Okay. What do you do on Tuesdays and Thursdays?
Tuesday and Thursday is normally jump and kickboxing, and we'll do some Kali.
So you're at the club Monday through Monday through.
I'm pretty much doing something every day. Pretty much doing even this weekend. I'm doing, if I'm not at a seminar, then I'm teaching somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I'm you can say I'm a purist. I'm like, if you're in it, you're in it. There's no other choice.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing? You know, just I'm thinking about your schedule and what have you. Isn't it fascinating that Dan Asano teaches as much as he does at age 87?
I would say it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
But I would say he's not really working. He's not. He's doing the one thing that he actually loves doing.
Right. Yep.
And you know, if you love what you're doing, you're not actually working.
It's not work. Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, you'll never work a day in your life, right?
Well, I mean, up to a point. There is a phase. I think now, in his golden years or whatever we want to call it, right? Yeah, I think he's evolved to that point. But back when he was averaging, he told me that he averaged 48 weekends out of the year. He was on the move.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm sure he enjoyed every minute of it, but that's still work.
It is. The only thing I hate about the whole setup of teaching is admin. I suck at admin.
Yeah.
I suck at admin. So like literally, I have somebody that helps me do the admin.
Good.
Yeah.
No, I know what you mean. But when you are an almost one person show, you do have to, you do have to take on the responsibility. You can't abdicate the total responsibility for it because you will not stay in business, so to speak. But
correct.
You can delegate stuff, but you've got to know it yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And then be able to delegate it. Yeah. I remember way back in the old days, the dream for a lot of JKD people was to have like a business partner who would take care of all that stuff, and then you would just be free to teach. And I came to the realization that a person with business experience is not going to be encouraged to get behind someone who has zero business experience.
Yeah, correct.
Right? Or zero business knowledge. You got to be able to feed them. You have to be able to feed off of each other in some shape or form.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's got to be on the same page.
Yeah. Hey, if you could afford it, would you come to Titans in March?
If I could afford it and I had the option to, yes, I would be there. Yeah. I would be there.
Man, look, I would love for it to develop into a show that we can take on the road.
That'd be very cool. I mean, if that was an option, then yeah, I'm there.
Yeah. Can you imagine bringing those two to England?
Yeah. I mean, myself and Terry Ballard's actually trying to convince me that, I actually considered it because Ron Balik is in France in June.
Okay.
So we're actually looking at that option. So I'm always up for the travel and jumping across. And again, it would be a pleasure to support the cause that you're actually putting in place.
Yeah. We did a walkthrough at the facility. Gorgeous hotel that that we're doing it at. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah,
It's gonna be a great time.
it'll be good.
You've never met? I assume you've never met Cass, right?
No, I have not. No,
Okay.
it's one of the things that's actually on my list to do.
Well, I'll tell you,
Certainly.
if me, you, Ron, and Terry end up in LA together, I'll take you guys on a side trip to meet him, right?
That's very kind. That's very, very kind.
I mean, if you talk to the, let's call them old timers out of respect, right? If you talk to the old timers from the 1980s, I mean, Cass was as much of a fixture in Europe on his own as he was when he was Sifu
Yes.
Inasano's assistant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Spending time at, have you ever heard of Nino Bernardo and
I have. Yes.
Jim? Yeah. Right.
Yes.
So, I can tell that you are aware that you were part of like an incredible martial legacy, with
Yes.
so much history, and so much color to it.
That's it. It's let's call it a rainbow lineage.
Yeah.
A rainbow. Courtney Dillon would love me calling it a rainbow. Yes.
Right.
It's a rainbow lineage, and as with regards to that person that was on about the lineage is important because we actually we lost say the founder at 32 years old.
Yeah.
He was never able to carry on.
Right. Sometimes I wonder about people and their opinions on this type of stuff, because I don't know that any sane person would go to a seminar or go sign up to train with somebody who says, I promoted myself to black belt in karate. I never had an instructor. I taught myself. But for some
Precisely.
reason, right?
Yeah.
For some reason, apparently you can do that in JKD, and it's considered legitimate.
Yeah. That's something else to not get me started on. Because as you've said, I'm very defensive of the Gurudhan lineage and what that means and where it's come from, and even the offshoots from him. I'm very very defensive of it, and I may upset some people, but I do think that to a degree, like you said, there are people out there that aren't actually certified that are teaching it, and I think that possibly, I may be wrong, but I think the concepts idea actually gives a political a license, a poetic license to certain individuals. So I think the concepts thing and the MMA JKD thing gives a poetic license to go and express.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea, because I think that there is this idea that Jeet Kune is a mishmash of stuff, so anybody can put anything together.
Yeah.
And then say, well, I'm just being water, like Bruce Lee said. So this makes it Jeet Kune. Yeah. So that is definitely something that we have to pay attention to, for sure. But what steps do you think should have been taken that have not yet been taken to, because I know that you and I think it was when we had that panel discussion. Right? I think it was you and Terry who we got into it about the preservation of the art, was it?
Yes. The preservation of Because funnily enough, before I came on here, while I was grabbing my coffee, I was looking at a YouTube thing with Ed Stall. He'd done a thing where he was describing Jeet Kune.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and I agree fully with what he said on that. I'll send you the link, but certainly it was we preserve um, the three areas. So Bruce Lee went on a journey, and he had three specific areas where he taught. And it was his journey that he was on. And somewhere along the line, we came up with Jump Fan Kung Fu, Jump Fan Kickboxing, and Bruce Lee's fighting method. So what we have is we then have possibly three variations of where he was at any specific time, or what his ideas were at any specific time. So it changed constantly. But the consistencies that we have are, we have Jump Fan Kung Fu, we have Trapping, the Ping Choi Gua Choi series, and we have the basics of, say, the kickboxing stances, etc. So fundamentally, we have a system. We have a thought process afterwards, but we have a system in place. Whether we call it an art, or we call it a system, or we call it Bruce Lee's fighting method, or it's still a base system that we have, which is called Jump Fan Kung Fu. So we did. I know you called it a launch pad, but a launch pad is still actually a system. But if you actually look at this is why I quote Longstreet all the time, but people click onto the wrong thing. If you look at Longstreet, when he's having the discussion about filling the glass up, and you say all the right words and all this kind of thing, he actually says to him, "How do you get to the point where you're taking out five guys in one go?" And he says, "It's okay having no system, but without a system, what do we teach?" So literally, you have to have a system in place and an understanding in place, which is why Bruce, when he was actually out there with the guys at his time period, he preferred guys that had already got a foundation.
Well, so I think that there's for every conclusion that we arrive at, we can probably find one example that goes against that conclusion.
Possibly, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But Ted Wong famously had no previous martial art experience. Right? I don't know if people like Sterling Silifant and Joey Torrenueva and even Steve McQueen and those guys, if those guys had previous experience.
I think Steve McQueen had some boxing, but don't quote me on that. But the difference with those guys is that they were paying him a lot of money. They were paying him a lot of money, and he was actually, in my humble opinion, he was actually using those networks to actually get work in Hollywood. So he was teaching guys that were connected in Hollywood, so that he would actually then look at auditioning or getting somewhere. So he was teaching guys. I read something about.
So then the idea that he preferred people who had previous experience is not an absolute.
Oh, it's not an absolute, but there are reasons for him teaching those famous people as opposed to actually passing on an art. Because when he, as you're aware, it's been well documented that if you weren't getting something, he'd get really annoyed and go on to the next thing. Or so he was an impatient guy.
Well, yeah, that's just because he was a terrible teacher.
Agreed. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
In fact,
I mean that's one of the reasons why he was lucky.
Yeah, I don't know if we could ever really say, that Bruce Lee was like a real martial arts instructor. You know,
No, I mean,
right.
if you gave me the opportunity to actually spend an hour privately with Bruce Lee or an hour privately with Guru Dan, I'd be Guru Dan every day of the week.
Why?
Um, because the time would be valuable.
Hmm.
Um, there would be conversations and things explained, and it would be. I'd probably spend the hour actually with Bruce Lee actually showing off to me or hitting me in the face from a trap.
Ah, I would spend the hour with Bruce Lee at his house, right?
Nice.
At a particular time. You know why? Because Inasano would have been there.
I like that. You trumped me. Nice,
Right?
nice.
Yeah. See, so I would have gotten the best of both worlds.
Yeah, indeed.
Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. If I could go back, shall we both try and find a TARDIS and go back? I'll do that definitely with you.
Right? Yeah. For sure.
But no, certainly. I mean, like literally, Bruce was able to actually get a lot of money for teaching famous people, which also allowed him to get networked.
Mhm. Yeah.
But if he was actually trying to learn anything, or he was actually trying to be more productive, or whatever, he would always prefer to have people that had a foundation.
Well,
Um,
I think that he may have been. I don't even know if conflicted is really the word, because it's like,
I'd agree with that as well.
right, because obviously he was a martial arts fanatic,
Uh-huh.
and so as a martial arts fanatic, if people are interested in what you do, you will share it with them,
Yes.
because you need
Yes.
bodies anyhow, right? You need bodies to work with. So
Absolutely. Yep.
you will share it with them. But I don't know if, we do hear about that at various times he contemplated the idea of opening up schools and what have you, but ultimately rejected that idea, right? Probably because he probably, like you, hated admin.
Um, he probably did. To be fair,
I don't,
he
I don't,
probably did. I,
I don't know.
I think he couldn't keep that going because he could never stand still.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I mean, curriculums can be found for each period, but Bruce himself never stood still.
So okay, so let me take you up on that. The what do you know about these various curricula that exist?
Only notes that I've actually ever seen put up in relation to, and Guru Tim actually noting that there were curriculums out there for certain periods, but
Yeah.
then again they kept changing.
So I mean I've heard that, I've heard Sifu Dan say that from time to time, that Bruce Lee was constantly changing and
Uh-huh.
updating or whatever. But in terms of, and I've always heard people talk about that these curricula exist, the written, Bruce Lee's specifically written curricula and what have you, except that nobody's seen them.
Nothing's transpired. No, nothing's
Right?
actually been.
Nobody's seen them. So apparently they exist, but nobody's seen them.
Yeah.
So then the closest thing we have is in Tommy. Do you have Tommy Gong's book, The Evolution of a Martial Artist?
No,
Okay, all right.
that's on the next. That's on the next list now.
Yeah,
So
yeah, because that I mean, so there are two things. I mean, it's a great book, but there are two things that make that book really special. It's where you can. No, it's not in there. I misspoke. But in Tommy Gong's book, there are Seattle. There's a Seattle curriculum, uh, Oakland curriculum, and a Los Angeles
okay, yeah,
curriculum, right? But I don't think that they are reprints of Bruce Lee's stuff. You see,
right, okay,
okay? I
okay,
don't. I don't think they're reprints of Bruce Lee's stuff. But the purpose, for me, the purpose that they serve is to be able to compare and contrast
Yes.
what was being taught, where the emphasis might have been, and
Yep.
what have you. And I think that you look at that and you can see the evolution,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You know, and so to me, that evolution is like a naturally occurring phenomenon.
Yes.
You see,
Yeah.
so any attempt to chronicle something that naturally flowed
Yes.
is going to automatically,
Be almost impossible.
well, what it's going to do is that it's going to make it static. It's going to make something that was fluid a lot more static, something that was dynamic a lot more static. Now I understand doing that for historical purposes, if because it's true. The Bruce Lee of Los Angeles was not the Bruce Lee of Seattle.
Correct.
It was a different Bruce Lee.
Yeah. A different
So I
guy,
think,
different
yeah.
age. Yep.
So right. So if we're going to chronicle stuff, we can say, okay, so that was that era, and this was this era. But to think of them as separate, if
Is a
we're
bit
going to do
ridiculous.
that, I
Yeah.
think we should just do that because we're chronicling history,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Certainly.
But if
Certainly.
we're thinking about the art, right? So that brings me to my question. Now, this is one question that I made a note of that we had to get to before we part company.
You're
So
gonna let me go.
on the postcard for Wednesday's I Love Jeet Kune broadcasts, which was titled, "What is Jeet Kune without its philosophy?"
Yeah. My answer.
And yeah, and you said, right, for all of you who didn't see it, Mark Black said something like, without its philosophy, we would have an art which focuses on simplicity, directness, and effectiveness. My question, therefore, is what the heck do you mean by that?
I'm right. There's. Can we go on for another hour?
Right?
Right. Okay. So, without the philosophy, which I think is Bruce's own philosophy and how he actually expressed himself in 32 years. Okay. So, if you take away his philosophy of be water, my friend, all this kind of thing, be using no way as way, no limitations as limitations. I actually think that if you actually take it down to its bare bones, then you will have a system or an art that is fully functional at all ranges, but simple, direct, and effective in all ranges that he was looking at. Because we have a constant argument about him being in judo. Well, he was around people that were in judo.
Yeah.
So he's always messing with stuff. So he'll have learned to throw. He'll have learned how to armbar during one of his classes. He'll have actually, if somebody could, I have a friend student that's in the police force. And he's now using Puto Kapala because it's a good way of restraining. Right.
Yeah.
So if you get guys, and he also does BJJ, so he's a blue belt in BJJ. So we'll have a look at stuff, and then we'll play about with it, and then we'll rep it, and then we'll have a look at it, so I can actually get a better armbar or get a better way of getting an armbar. So once I get a better way of having that armbar in place based on my limitations physically, I can throw away everything. I can throw the other thing away that I had. So I'm getting rid of something that's useless to me because I found a better way of doing it.
And you don't consider that an application of the philosophy?
I do, but I also don't see it as retaining things. I see it as almost. People could almost say that I'm actually style jumping, because I'm actually working out with a guy, as Bruce probably did with the judo guys in his class. I'm working out with these guys, and I'm actually adding, then subtracting, based on what I need to do with my physicalities. Because I mean, if you watch the thing, it's on my podcast with Tim. But I actually have a false hip and a spinal cord with bars around it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm limited in what I can do grappling wise. So I have to do what's necessary before we even get to the grapple.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I have to make sure that boom 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 it's done.
Okay, but I still don't see how. Maybe I'm misunderstanding what you mean, because your answer or your comment sounds as if you think the philosophy would get in the way of simple, direct, and efficient.
I think often it does.
How?
I think often it does because you actually, if you look at simple, direct, and effective,
Mm-hmm.
which is what it is meant to be, it's meant to be in the utmost simplicity.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're also looking at going away and adding on, which literally you're most JKD, many JKD, not all of them, many JKD guys will actually look at other arts and train another art, so add to it, and then add this to it, and then add that to it, without dispelling. Some things can come in useful later on when you're older, etc., and all that kind of thing. But literally,
Wait.
we tend to add.
Where did they get this idea that you're supposed to add?
This is the thing, because literally, you're not meant to add.
Okay, so where did that idea come from?
Because we actually we do this thing where we absorb what is useful, so we add, but we still retain what we had.
But adding and absorbing are not the same actions.
Absorbing is the same as if you're actually repping what you're absorbing, then you are.
No.
Because if you absorb it, then you're actually training it.
Well, yeah, but okay, but that's not the same as adding. See,
it is the same. If I actually go and absorb something in a jiu-jitsu class or a BJJ class or a silat class, and I bring it back and go, oh, I like that, I'm going to add that in. I'm going to use that, but don't throw away anything else. That's me adding. I'm not chipping away. I'm adding. And the whole essence of it was to chip away. So fundamentally, if you actually had Bruce,
part of the Jeet Kune philosophy, right, is, to paraphrase Daniel Lee, using no fixed way as way.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, which means I really want to understand your idea about adding and not chipping away. Why would you add something? When you call it add, do you mean you go to a CELAC, you go to a BJJ class, and there's a technique that you didn't know? Or, okay, but you
find interesting or actually works for you.
Okay, you find it useful. You find it what Chris Kent would call personally suitable.
I like that.
Right? Okay. You find it personally suitable.
Personally suitable.
So now it becomes part of your thing.
Yes.
Okay.
That's adding.
And that's frowned upon?
I wouldn't say it's frowned upon, but adding isn't subtracting. If we actually this is the contradiction of the philosophy, because fundamentally, like I shared today, the best things are simple, or the best thing. Well, I can't remember the quote now. The best things are simple. The easiest things done well. So you keep it simple.
The best techniques are
simple ones done well.
The best techniques are it was something that I had it on a page here.
And someone shared that to me, so I thought, oh yeah, I'm just going to share that because I was excited about coming on here. So I'm going to share that.
Let me see if I can pull it up again, because I saw it. Oh man, I don't like to scroll around while I'm talking
You
to
scroll
people.
around.
Right. But yeah, but it was something about the best techniques
Simplicity.
are whatever. But I still don't understand then. So are you saying that you should not you should not add that technique that you find personally suitable to your arsenal? If you do, you've added something.
I've most certainly added. If I actually, if I find which I have done, I found a way to get to an armbar via BJJ,
Uh-huh.
more effective than the one I was using before. But I've still added that in because I've not got rid of the other one because I still like to train the other one. So I've technically added, which Bruce's idea was simplification.
But
Simplification.
so if you add something, you're automatically not simplifying.
Correct. Because if you
Really?
add it, and if you add it, and you're actually because you're actually trying to simplify an art, not the actual, not simplifying combat, not simplifying how you use it, but you're actually adding, you're adding to an arsenal rather than saying, okay, I've got 2 arm bars already. Why do I need to go and use another one? I've got 2 punches already. Why do I need? I've got a finger jab. Why do I need 5 variations of a finger jab? Why do I need 6 elbows?
So, well, okay.
Which is taking me back to the discussion with regards to like the Chinatown guys.
How do you determine then what to keep?
How do I determine what to keep?
Yeah, see, because if I get what you're saying, if you're introduced to one method of getting to the armbar, then that should be your method. That first method that you're introduced to, and that's the one you've been training.
It depends on how many you've had previously. Depends on how many you've had previously, because there are various ways there are various arm bars, and there are various ways to get to the arm bar, especially if you're using things like the grappling association ways to get to there. There are various ways of getting to, placing it on there.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, that's my coffee. My apologies. But whenever you are training and experimenting, you are always going to be adding. The only way you find out how it actually works or doesn't work for you, or whether you should get rid of it, is by pressure testing it.
Right.
That's how you get. That's because I mean,
so that's part of the training
evolution
approach.
The evolution.
Yeah.
And
that has to be done. So that's built in
and
to
you
the
should
methodology.
Yeah, but you should always actually keep it simple, direct, and effective, which means actually chipping away. And so, like, well, I mean, fundamentally, I have actually got rid of that armbar. The one that I was doing originally, I've got rid of it because of how the hips move on that armbar as opposed to the new one is more effective for me. But I could still train. I could still train the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah, which means that I've still added.
Man,
still means that I've added.
Mark, you sound like you're tormenting yourself unnecessarily.
Every day, sir. Every day.
You sound like you're tormenting yourself unnecessarily. Look, the thing about it's not about having 6 different elbows, right? But it's about being able to throw an elbow effectively under any kind of situation. Yeah.
Yes, pressure.
Right.
Yeah.
And probably also being able to throw an elbow in any direction, let's call it. And probably being able to throw an elbow with either arm.
That is probably me, actually. Any direction apart from what I'm meant to be hitting. Yeah.
Right. So the thing about the thing about working on 6 different elbows would be to determine for yourself which ones make sense for you.
And yeah, and that means that we're actually that is the dare I say it, that is us producing a system with a baseline of Jun Fan.
That's, say that again. That's
That
producing.
is us producing a system with a system of either fighting, sport, or fitness with a baseline of Jun Fan, because you're set, as I said right at the beginning, the set system or set art, whatever we want to call it, is Jun Fan, which is what I base everything around. Because our set system is Jun Fan, and certainly from the people that I've been privileged to train with, all their Jun Fan, although they teach it differently, have the same elements, and those elements are functional.
So
those elements work.
So when they teach Jeet Kune, what is it that they teach that they do not teach when they teach Jun Fan?
I'm going to relate back to the best way of expressing it is, have you seen the video that's circulating with Gurdan in the old academy?
Is that the one with Ron Balicki and Chad Stahelski and all those guys?
No, he's doing. Chad Stahelski's on there, and Yori's on there as well. Yeah. Literally, what I tend to do is we do use the Jun Fan, and what I will say is that from a JKD concept point of view, yeah, we could look at what is effective, and we could look at how we did, say, what was everybody else doing? The hook kick or the tie kick. Mr. Tully is very on point with his tie kicks. He likes to find pictures or videos with tie kicks. And the effectivity of that.
Right, but that wasn't my question. My question was, when people teach Jun Fan, as opposed to when they teach Jeet Kune,
yes,
what do they do differently? When you're teaching one, but then you're teaching the other. So if you went to a seminar, and the guy goes, okay, now I'm going to teach Jun Fan, and then 30 minutes later he says, okay, now I'm going to teach Jeet Kune. What, in your opinion, might have been different?
How they're actually throwing combinations that aren't specifically Jun Fan combinations, how they are advising that we can use different techniques from different arts. So if that instructor's actually got experience in other arts, that then they would advise that they are actually doing, say, this combination that is not Jun Fan, but this is how we'd actually express JKD and its evolution, and how this could be more effective. So that's how it's explained. So it's not explained as being Jun Fan, but if they have another technique like the tie round kick, which is not a Jun Fan maneuver, then they will say that, right, we're doing this kick, and what I do is I tend to use this kick rather than the Jun Fan hook kick because of its effectivity. But
so Jun Fan does not have a hook kick?
It has a hook kick. That's another argument for another podcast.
No, it has a hook kick. Does it
have a hook kick?
Jun Fan have a hook kick from the rear leg?
It does indeed.
Does it have a hook kick from the lead leg?
Not that I'm aware of.
Jun Fan does not have a hook kick from the lead leg.
Not that I. Oh, sorry. Yes, it does. My apologies. Lead. Yes, sorry. My apologies.
Okay.
Yes, right. My apologies.
Okay, so then.
But the hook kick from JKD or Jun Fan does not actually place itself the same way that a tie kick does.
Why not?
But that depends on how you're actually kicking it, I guess. Yeah, that depends on how you're kicking it.
What do you mean? You mean the
it's how the placement is. Because I mean, there are 3 variations of a tie kick. From what I know, there are 3 variations of a tie kick. Now, it depends on its placement and where you're kicking to and how you kick it with the hips, the ball, the foot, and the leg. So it depends on how you're actually doing it. But the way it is explained to me is that this is a different variation, or this is the Thai kick variation. And so they are explaining the concept of how this technique can be used in this combination, but it is not part of the set format of Jun Fan, which is Bruce Lee's base unit, or the launch pad.
You ever seen Bruce Lee do a hook kick?
No, but I've seen him do a double leg takedown.
You never seen Bruce Lee do a hook kick?
It's been a while since I actually watched his movies, to be fair.
Okay.
It's been a while.
Okay. Because there's a scene in Way of the Dragon where he kicks the yellow arm pads.
It's been a while.
Right? You take a look at that.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the way the camera sets it up, I can't even tell if he's doing a rear leg kick or a lead leg kick, in all honesty. Right?
Yeah.
I can't tell. But if you look at it, right, and then also if you look at the kick that finishes off the penultimate kick that finishes off Bob Wall in Enter the Dragon.
Indeed, yes.
Right, and you watch the shape of his body when he does that kick. It's, to me, very reminiscent of Muay Thai.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't doubt that. I wouldn't doubt that, depending on how his body's actually working. But did he actually get that? Did he get to that position through training Muay Thai, or was that just how he figured out to move his body in that way due to the kicks that he had?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know the depth of his involvement in Thai boxing. But what's your point?
No, I'm saying that it's a little bit like I was at a Guru Rick Fay seminar, 2017, I think it was. Mm-hmm. I remember specifically him saying that if you get a couple of drills from Carly and you rep it the way that Bruce would rep it, then sooner or later you're actually going to come out with a martial art. I think that certainly he actually went through a process of experimenting. He went through a process of body mechanics and expressing the human body, and found his way that would look like a Thai kick. He's maneuvered his body so that he can maneuver in that way, based on the various kicks that he had. If nowadays we are in a social situation where everything's available to you online. Back in the day, he had to rep that. So literally, he would have been kicking the bag or kicking pads with whoever in the backyard or in class or with Guru Dan. Sooner or later, if you actually do a kick enough or experiment with kicks enough, you are going to come out with something that's reminiscent of another system. The way that Guru Dan gave him 2 sticks to go and play with, and he came back with a system that was reminiscent of something that Guru Dan had seen a long time ago. So he'd gone away and repped it and come back with, because that's what he did. He was way ahead of his time. He could actually go away and go and take one kick and then mess around with kicks. And so I don't doubt that he may have actually just come out with a kick that's reminiscent of Thai boxing, or that he's actually looked through a book and found a kick that looks like a Savat kick, because he was constantly experimenting, constantly. So I wouldn't doubt that at all. So nowadays we have to style hop. Nowadays we have to style hop. Back in his day, he could have 5 different guys in his gym from 5 different arts, and they could just mess about for hours.
Well, I don't know that style hopping.
That's going to become a thing. You should actually open a school called Style Hopping.
I think not, because actually the people who let's call it invented the term style hopping are not people who have a deep understanding
Really?
of what cross training delivers to you.
Right. Okay.
You know,
I've heard
right?
that quite a few times as well. Cross training.
Yeah. Well, see, because see, I'm still not 100% in understanding your differentiation between when somebody teaches Jun Fan versus when they teach they teach Jeet Kune Do.
I think it's because we
Because
actually.
so I'll give it so okay, so I'll give you an example, right? In Seattle, they teach from this kind of starting position,
Uh-huh.
right? LA doesn't have that.
No.
LA
Different time
has this.
period.
Yeah, right? So if somebody's teaching um, with, I forget what they call their fighting position, but I don't think they call it the Baizhong. I forget what they call it. That if somebody's doing that, if he's starting you in a particular fighting position
Mm-hmm.
versus starting you in what we would call the
On the
Baizhong,
Baizhong.
then
Yeah.
that's a differentiation. One
That is the
person is
differentiation based
one
on.
person
Yeah.
is teaching what
Yeah.
in
Yep.
Seattle
Yep.
they teach at the Junfan Gung Fu Institute.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
Yep.
so that's a differentiation.
That is a differentiation of a time period. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm going to say what Ed Stahl said and say that they're all the same things because Bruce taught things differently at all different stages, and so therefore fundamentally it's all it all goes under the one roof of JKD certainly, but you have to look at the path of the man rather than looking at the art itself and look at what he actually left behind. The three stages of his martial art are the three stages of his martial art, his very own development, and just his development. And it would be a case of looking at how he scattered those fragments based on how they were left. It's the same with the Chinatown JKD guys. The Chinatown JKD guys is predominantly John Fan. But we'd still call it
what?
JKD. But because
Why? What? Wait.
we'd still call it
Explain that. Explain that to me. The Chinatown JKD guys are predominantly
predominantly,
Junfan,
yeah. So
but
they're
they call it
the
JKD. What
British
does that mean?
Chinatown JKD,
What does that mean?
because JKD is synonymous with Bruce Lee to a degree.
Yeah, but what do you mean? What do you mean the Chinatown JKD guys are predominantly Junfan?
Well, you'll actually see that it's predominantly John Fan, which is
how would I see that?
well, the videos and the Chinatown JKD
But
book.
describe something that I would see that would
Um,
make it
oh,
Junfan and not JKD.
The fact that they actually don't. What was the term you used? That they are static in what they are teaching. They are static in their art, and they don't look beyond what they've actually got because they don't need to look beyond what they've got.
The Chinatown JKD people
It's,
do not look beyond
uh,
what they've got.
from what I gather, it's the same as
I don't understand what you mean.
right. So
They don't look at what, for example.
Say cross training in grappling. So looking at the arts of grappling.
Untrue.
Okay.
Untrue. You ever heard of Jim McCann?
No,
you
sir.
You ever heard of Lloyd? Oh gosh, Lloyd. Anyhow, you know that Eric Paulson essentially comes out of the of Tackett's garage, right?
Oh yeah, certainly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I remember being in LA at the Innisano Academy and seeing Dennis Blue.
Yes.
And who in private sessions with Eric Paulson.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I don't doubt that at all. I don't doubt it.
so
So they're
so
coming out of his camp, yeah?
so the Chinatown the Chinatown JKD group, to say that they do not look at grappling would be inaccurate, because they definitely do.
If they actually do, then that's fair enough.
Yeah, no, they
I
definitely
am
do.
aware that there's certain areas that don't. I'm aware of the certain areas that actually stick with their teachings of their time.
Okay, well, see, yeah, see, the guys at Chinatown JKD are, um, they're definitely, they definitely epitomize taking knowledge from various sources, from different
Hmm.
sources, right, and blending it into what they're doing, and blending it into,
Into their
I'll use conventional
base
terms,
art,
blending it into their base system,
yeah, base system. It's
right?
very
But
complicated using base system or art or system, or it's very complicated.
no, no, it doesn't have to be. See,
Yeah,
here's why it doesn't have to be, because we got to understand, what was Bruce Lee attempting to do. Bruce Lee was attempting, right? Because all there is that you can do is kick, punch, trap, and grapple
yeah, yeah.
in empty hands. That's
That's
all
four
you can do,
Rangers. It's
right?
four Rangers.
Well, you can, if you want to get into that argument,
That's why I've got 4 stars.
right? If you want to get into to that
Yeah,
argument, right? Those are
yeah.
the right. You and McTully's
Myself and
best
Terry.
friend. You and McTully's best friend can
Yeah.
get into that argument. All right. I've gone past that. So that's all Bruce Lee was ever working on.
Yes.
So any of his followers, any of his descendants who continue to work on that are applying the philosophy of the art.
Mm,
Okay.
mm, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you go looking at Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and you find something that makes what you were doing previously more effective, then that's blended, or you could use the term absorb or whatever, that's blended
Absorb.
into what you're doing. So you haven't added anything, right? See, it's like, if I have, I'll make this up because it's not true. If I have a splash of rum, right? If I have a splash,
I'll make it up because it's not true.
I'll make this up because it's not true. So if I have a splash of rum, right? Um, some kombucha, some ginger kombucha, and some strawberry banana stuff in here. I added those 3 ingredients, but then I blended them together.
I'm coming over to you for that drink.
Right?
I'll be
So
at camp.
so now all I have is a single beverage.
You do.
And that's the way JKD is supposed to be.
I think
See,
that if you actually
I add stuff, but then it is blended in and it disappears. So now, when the time for the armbar comes out, because of all the repping that I have done, when it's time for the armbar is performed seamlessly,
oh yeah, that I agree with. That I
right?
agree with.
And
Certainly, yeah.
then,
If you rep it enough and you pressure test it enough, then it should come out seamlessly. Yes.
yeah.
What I meant.
So how was that a
So
violation?
what I meant by it was that if I actually don't get rid of the previous armbar that I had, or if I add a kick on, or I don't get rid of the other kicks in there, or I actually add another punch or a different type of elbow in there, I've simply added. I've not chipped away and said, "Oh, this works better for me." I've simply added if I don't get rid of anything else. which that means that I've actually added. So it's
But
not a chip away, that's an add.
Mark, that sounds dangerously like you're saying there's just one solution
Oh no, I'd never say
for
that.
every situation.
Oh no, I'd never say that. But
Okay.
by actually having various different, having a number of different things for various situations means repping all the situations, which ends up being an art form. Actually, that means it's an art form. So therefore, you are repping a system. You are repping the elbows or the kicks or whatever to make them flow like water, and to be flowing in any given situation, which means that for any given situation that you're going to have, you accommodate to actually have an answer for every situation, which is what I said Bruce was actually looking for. He was actually looking for a system where he had an answer for everything, for all ranges, which was my original question. Without the philosophy, what have you got? You got a fighting method that has an answer for everything.
And with the philosophy, you have what?
A lot of complication and politics and a lot of discussions.
No.
And a lot of discussions. And
I think you should go back and read Liberate Yourself from Classical Karate, right? Because that is a philosophical treatise. That's what it is.
Indeed. Yeah,
right.
Indeed.
I think you should go read that, because the idea that simplicity means having just one thing. If that one thing, right? And I don't know, I don't know that have you heard Sifu Dan say, if you get the technique, you get one thing, but if you get the principle behind the technique, you get it all?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
See, so I think it's dangerous if this is what you're doing, thinking in terms of, well, they're supposed it to be simple. I got to have one kick.
Oh no, because within Jun Fan you have more than one kick. We have more than what you have a cross. You have various combinations that actually are effective. So you've not got one.
Wait,
you've actually got
in Jun Fan you have cross
you've got overhand uppercuts. You've got your kicks. You've got combinations. You've got your trapping. You've got ping. You've got loads of stuff going on in there. You've even got Mick Tully's favorite finger jam, Bill G. You've got his favorite. Yeah. So literally, you've got a lot of combinations in there. You've not just got one hit. You've not got one technique. You've got a number of techniques in there. So you've not got one technique. It's just that if you actually went simple and direct and effective, I think Bruce's idea is that you actually do end it with one technique, but you have a whole, dare I say it, you have a whole system there to train within Jun Fan. You have a whole system there that was left by Bruce Lee, the founder. I'm going to keep saying that because it might get on Mick Tully's nerves. The founder.
What do you make of? How do you explain this then? One day, Bruce Lee starts to refer to his art as Jeet Kune.
I think that's basically based on where he was. That's where he was, because not all of us are Bruce Lee. In fact, there isn't going to be another Bruce Lee. I would agree with Dan with that. There's not going to be another Bruce Lee.
But what are you saying?
I'm saying that that's where Bruce Lee was at that time. That's why he always said it's just a name. Literally, him and Gurdan came up with a name at some point that said JKD, and that, excuse me again, that was his expression at that time. And then he wanted to dissolve it. It was where Bruce was at that time on his journey.
Right.
Literally
so that has no relevance to us 50 years later?
I think that we're actually just trying to catch up with him. The thing is that Gurdan is, I'm going to use the word exceptional. I think Gurdan was actually more exceptional than Bruce Lee, to be fair.
Okay. All right. So let me backtrack a little bit. One day, Bruce Lee decides, I think after all this thinking, I'm gonna use the term Jeet Kune, all right,
Yes.
for my art,
Yes.
right? Previous to that, Jun Fan Kung Fu was the name of the schools.
Hmm.
There was a thing called the Jun Fan method of Kung Fu. There was a thing called the Jun Fan method of boxing,
Yes.
right? But so on the day that he decided, well, I'm going to refer to my art as Jeet Kune Do, what changed in terms of what he taught or what he practiced or what he trained? What changed?
That depends on where he was at that given day.
No, 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 no. On that day, what changed?
Yeah. His mindset towards his art, his mindset towards his system and what he did, because he was changing all the time. He was
What?
literally changing all the time. So literally,
So you think that within the span of 24 hours, there was a drastic change?
I think he could actually change his mind at any point because, like, literally, I
No,
think
there
that
was a
he,
drastic change in what he was training, what he was
um,
teaching.
in his own words of expression, possibly, how he wanted to express it, possibly.
A
But
drastic change.
I'd have to be in the building or the car to actually
A,
confirm that. What we
a drastic change.
possibly. Possibly. I mean, he could change curriculums from one day to the next, couldn't he? Or change what he was teaching from one private to the next private. So he could. He may have actually just said in. I've forgotten how they came about it, but it could have been a car ride or a conversation over coffee, and they came up with JKD. I'm going to call it JKD. He might have called it Fred Flintstone next day.
So within the span of 24 hours,
It could well have done.
Bruce Lee might have changed everything that
Hmm.
he was training and teaching in the span of 24 hours.
He may well have
That's
done.
that's your contention. He might have done that.
That's just conjecture based on
Yeah.
what he was
On what?
teaching throughout, how often it changed, and how often he changed what he was teaching, what he was training, and what he was doing.
How often did he change?
Um, Quite a lot, according to Gurdon. Quite a lot.
How
He'd actually
so?
change. It sometimes actually change it on the day from what I've actually heard. But like literally, he was constantly evolving and constantly changing. So what we have to do is we have to catch up with that.
Have you ever seen an example of one of these changes, one of these
No,
constant
I haven't.
changes?
No, I haven't. I've heard that he was constantly changing. I've seen that.
What do you imagine was going on in this constantly changing environment?
What was going on with him?
Yeah, and
I
I
think he
mean,
was just. I think he was adapting to find out, or to realize, or find his own realization of what the perfect system was, and how he attaches his own expression to it and his own philosophies of that. And because he passed away at 32,
mhm.
with leaving his notes that we now have, and leaving his interviews, and leaving things with, say, Gurdon,
Mhm.
that's what we are fundamentally left with. So we have to then actually figure out what to do with it from that point. We have to figure out what to do with it from 1973. We have to figure out what to do with it. We have to figure out our own expression, because we're
Yeah.
left with his journey, and it was simply his journey. So literally, because he was actually changing all the time, or because he was evolving all the time, things changed all the time, which is why you have Seattle, which is why you have LA.
I want somebody. I want somebody to give me an example of this constant changing thing. All right, because does that mean what would, on a technical level, it's like today we're doing this punch or this kick, and then tomorrow it's like, no, we don't do that punch and that kick anymore.
See, now I've changed my mind, because now I want to be with you in the TARDIS, going back and seeing what he was doing on a daily basis, the Guru.
Right? I mean, let's think about this for a second. Okay, constantly changing does not automatically mean daily changing.
Oh no, agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
Constantly changing does not mean daily changing.
No, agreed.
Right? So again, it goes back to my question. Could there have been a radical change on the day that he says, I'm going to use the term Jeet Kune for my art?
Hypothetically, yes. But, you know, I'd like to have been there on that day.
Let's try not to deal in hypotheticals, because see, and then you said the thing about, you know, he said it's just a name,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's just a name, but you think, why do you think Bruce Lee said, don't fuss over it, it's just a name?
For various reasons. For various reasons. One, he actually didn't want to get caught up in the systemization or the classical mess. Or he didn't want to make it into a classical mess.
Okay.
He wanted it to remain forever fluid.
Okay, so here's what you got to do. You got to go back and read Liberate Yourself from Classical Karate.
Okay.
Okay, because in there you will discover, I'll be so bold, as the error in your thinking.
Okay.
He did not think that because he gave it a name, it automatically became a classical system, just because it had a name.
Oh yeah, I understand that.
Right. Okay. But that's what you just said, I think.
Yeah, I'm just expressing my thoughts on why that came about.
Yeah. I don't, because see, Jeet Kune Do, I think that the thing about it's just a name was so people didn't get caught up in identifying it as distinct from this or that, separate from this or that. That was the mindset. He didn't want people adopting that mindset. Okay. He didn't think, oh, now I've gone and named it, so now it's a classical system because I gave it a name. No. It was a way of identifying. Dare I say, it might have been a way of identifying the Bruce Lee method versus the classical systems that are out there. But imagine if he could have called it Bruce Lee's fighting method.
He could have, yeah.
Okay, right.
Which is a good name, to be fair.
But then imagine if, so what is this that you do? Oh, it's called Bruce Lee's fighting method. I mean, again, neither of us was there, but I think since he was a martial artist, if he was going to name his thing, he was going to give it a martial art name, right? I mean, that's why we've heard that.
Certainly, yeah.
It was originally, it was going to be the Tao of Jeet Kune. Right? That's what it was supposed to be. The name for the art. But then, taking advantage of the sound do, right? He adopted it and switched it around. So instead of Tao of Jeet Kune, it became Jeet Kune.
It sounds better with the do on the end, yeah.
Because it could sound, Taekwondo, Judo, Karate,
yeah, it sounds better. Whatever. A marketing thing, yep, right? Sounds better.
But I don't think that this idea that oh, it's just a name, don't fuss over it, means that he thought dismissively about this art to which he had
Certainly.
committed himself.
I don't think he actually felt dismissive of it. I just think that, I mean, again, I wish I could actually go back in the TARDIS and actually spend. I now want to go back and spend the day with him, with you.
You know, I would go back in the TARDIS and spend time with Jenna Coleman.
You got good taste, sir. You got good taste.
Okay.
Although,
I wonder how many people we just lost on that. How many people get that reference? My God.
wow.
I wonder if Terry Valor got that.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
But yeah, that's what I would do. That's definitely what I would.
No, you got good taste. You got good taste.
Oh man, she's.
Oh.
Yep. Oh yeah, she's definitely a honey. All right. Well,
I thought you might have been for the Scottish redhead, though.
Oh, yeah, she's not so bad, right? She really isn't. She's not so bad. But Jenna Coleman, man,
Jenna Coleman.
she is the total package. She really is.
Wow, the total package.
Yes. You know, okay. I'm gonna reveal something to you. I'm gonna reveal something to you. You know what it is? It's the bow legs.
Right, I'm speechless now.
Yeah. It's the bow legs.
I'm a Rebecca Ferguson guy. The lady from the Mission Impossibles and Dune.
Nah, that's not stuff that I'm. Rebecca Ferguson. No, I'm not. I don't know who that is.
I will help you find out.
Yeah. Mission Impossible.
Yeah, she was in Mission Impossible. The last one, Dead Reckoning.
Oh well, see, yeah, you're talking about present day stuff, right? Yeah, no, I'm older.
I know Jenna Coleman's gone. I know she has. I know she has.
Rebecca Ferguson. I'm looking at a. Oh, okay. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Oh. All right.
So you've just stolen her from me, haven't you?
No. You can keep her. I'll be happy. I'll be happy with Jenna Coleman. Right. I'm telling you. I will. Yeah. No. One day off camera, I'll tell you why Jenna Coleman.
Okay. I'll accept that.
Yeah, I'll
one day off camera, I'll take that.
One day off camera, I'll tell you why Jenna Coleman. Anyhow, all right. Listen, Mark Black. On that note, right?
On the Jenna Coleman note, yes.
Yeah. Let's put a wrap on this. It's a pleasure talking with you, man.
This has been very cool.
We still have to debate this. So again.
I'm up for any time you want to even bring Mr. Valor on.
Yeah, when you and Terry Valor are heading out to LA, let me know, and if we can make that a thing, then we can continue this debate over there.
Absolutely.
Right? You know, it'll be a good time.
Yeah, I'm sorry I can't be there for the seminar for you.
No worries. I'm
if you want to put the Zoom on, I'll even watch you via Zoom.
We'll see. We got ideas for this, so we'll see how it develops. But yeah, man, thanks for hanging out with me. It was a pleasure talking with you.
No, it's been amazing. Thank you very much, sir.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, man. You take care.
Have a great evening. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. So, lively conversation there with my friend Mark Black. That was episode number, well, where are we? 293. Okay. So you guys know the deal. Comment, rate, subscribe, all that stuff. any questions you have. I will go through, probably not tonight. I'll take a look at them when I come back from Coral Springs. I'm doing my monthly workshop up there tomorrow. You can support me and the show at jkdrebel.com. Click on the Rebel Gear link, and that's where you'll see stuff like this: coffee mugs, t-shirts, hoodies, sweats, all that stuff. jkdrebel.com. Just click on the Rebel Gear link. There you go. Okay. You can also support the show at paypal.me/unifiedma Miami, paypal.me/unifiedma Miami, and that's where you can get a raw but edited version of the Jeet Kune Journey Volume 1, paypal.me/unifiedma Miami. And right here on the YouTube, just click the join link that you see there, and you can see the different levels of membership and the different perks available to you for that. And last but not least, check out titansofjkd.com. We've got, I calculated it earlier today, 13, 8, we got 21 days, 3 weeks before we do this thing. So when it comes to, if you're an out-of-towner, if you're outside of Florida, outside of Miami or what have you, and you need to fly in or what have you, you can still get good rates into Miami. Hey, Jeff Bezos is moving to Miami, so come on. If it's good enough for Jeff Bezos, it's got to be good enough for you JKD people. So go to titansofjkd.com and just check it out. Okay. All right. So that's it for me for this week. You guys have a great weekend, and I'll be in touch with you next week. Okay. All right. Take care.